The situation in Ukraine continues to deteriorate. Children are being killed, wounded, and forced to flee from their homes. So we are now calling on the chess community, our partners, and all of you, our viewers, to come together and help those in desperate need by donating to UNICEF, who is providing life-saving support to the people in and around Ukraine. This is the first day of the Charity Cup, and we're also gonna allow ourselves to be excited about chess and the great moves made by our 16 players. Magnus Carlsen is back, and we're also going to follow some new exciting names to the tour. So welcome everyone to the first day in another event in the 2022 Meltwater Champions Chess Tour.
And there is money to play for. A victory will net 3 points and $750, whilst a draw will be worth 1 point and $250. But only the top 8 finishers of the preliminaries will qualify to the knockout stage. Sitting in their homes from all across the globe are 16 players. Leading the chase is world champion Magnus Carlsen in Norway. Getting ready to make their debuts are Grandmasters Leiting J, Richard Rapport, and David Navarra. And what a debut it was for David Navarra as he demonstrated his tactical skills by outplaying Magnus Carlsen beautifully.
It looks like Magnus is in trouble. He's been in trouble the whole game, and it's all about the white king. If you look at the white king, the black queen is super close. Also, the black bishop cutting across on the light squares. There are checkmating ideas all over the place. Magnus is really stretched in the defense. This would end in checkmate. Suddenly, after bishop takes rook, this is what we call a back rank checkmate. Look how Magnus planted the queen to stop the black king escaping using this square. So, of course, David Navarra spotted that. He's so tactically sharp. Are we about to see a result? Wow, yes we do. Let's go back to the players. David Navarra is smiling. We'll show this later, but he spotted a winning idea against the world champion.
Look at that.
What a moment for him.
Yeah, that is a nice celebration by David Navarra. Winning against the world champion Magnus, of course, logging off. But this is a big moment for David Navarra. See that big smile. Oh, how...
Did you see earlier? He had a flower.
Yeah, yellow flower.
There was a yellow flower and there was a huge smile on his face.
Yep.
It actually ended really quickly. I was about to show a variation, but before I even had the chance, Navarra spotted a win and broke through to deliver checkmate. And actually, we left it here. White's queen now in the middle of the board, just on a dark square, stopping any checks. Black wanted to use this square to deliver checkmate, but that has been guarded. But the queen is overloaded. She has to cover too many squares. And here, David Navarra won by sacrificing. Remember, knights are great defenders. He got rid of this defender, and once after this sacrifice, after this trade, the black queen simply dropped herself down, lined herself up with her bishop on this diagonal, and checkmate was inevitable. The threat is to drop the queen onto the h1 square, and there's simply no way to do this without throwing your rooks in the way and giving up your rooks. For example, if the pawn pushes forward, the queen steps forward. This is what we call the kiss of death. And this is checkmate. David Navarra finishing the game in style.
16-year-old Indian talent Pragnananda also impressed by playing a masterpiece against Dutchman Jordan van Forest.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
What is this?
What a move.
Genius.
Just to have this move on your radar is incredible. We were looking at the king side. We were looking at the black king. He just picked up his rook in the corner and threw it up the board, sacrificing it in this angle. He's too good for this age. What a player, Pragnananda. He used all the angles. He used this a7 square on the left side. He's using the corner on this side. He's dropping his knight back to the bottom of the board. He's literally played on all 4 sides of the board in order to win this game. And it's simply a checkmate threat from the white queen and white rook over the next couple of moves. And but okay, he gives a check, allowing the black king to hide on the side. Okay, what is his idea? Because now black threatens checkmate in 1. Rook takes knight will be checkmate. And whoa, okay, crazy tactics. Prag is just showing off now with some nice geometry, and I think we're about to see a result because king takes rook now. It's a check. King takes rook would walk into a knight fork. White's knight will plant itself in the center, checking the black king and winning the black queen. This is just one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen, let alone on the tour. It's just a masterpiece. Fireworks non-stop. Every move is a really crazy, unexpected blow. This knight fork winning the black queen ends in Van Forest's resignation. Yeah, and I just want to show there are so many moments, but I want to just show the end of this game, because it was at this point I was advocating, just drop the rook back, guard the first rank, stop any black checks, but Prag said no. He wants to use every single square, every corner of the board to win this game. He brought his queen into the corner, now huge threats of some checks against the black king, and after black gave a check, he saw he could just drop back his knight. Knight to the e1 square, guarded by the white rook, of course, now just stopping any threats against the white king too. And because black's king is the more vulnerable of the two, it had to make a run for it. It stepped forward, but here, again, Prag not taking any safety first options, calculating to the end of the game, he saw that he could give a check, and when the black king ran to the side, he could sacrifice his rook. He already sacrificed one rook, sacrificing the other rook now, and the idea is after king takes rook, of course, there's a knight check, a knight fork, and this was also how the game ended. After the rook sacrificed itself, black tried to deny this gift originally, tried to reject it, but after another check, we saw king takes rook, and the final touch, knight forking the king and winning the queen next move. Just magic, pure magic from Prag.
But heartbreak was soon to follow for the youngster when he took too many risks against the Spaniard David Anton and failed to qualify to the knockouts.
Okay, he goes on the attack with his pawns. Oof.
I didn't expect that one. It is committable, because if it goes wrong, it's going to go seriously wrong.
And now black's position on this side feels a bit loose. Plus 100 means checkmate is coming. No way to prevent it. There's just one trick left. If white's g-pawn pushes, black can sacrifice the bishop, so white's bishop goes away. No more stalemates. And Praggnanandhaa, is he about to resign?
This is almost a little bit heartbreaking. He was one win away from qualifying to the knockout stage in the Air Things Masters. Praggnanandhaa, after such an incredible performance, and look at that, 100 on the bar, and it's over. David Anton makes it through to the quarterfinals.
I kind of just want to show the final moments in order to firstly show why Praggnanandhaa resigned, but also how David Anton won. We talked about stalemate quite a lot. We need to show it on the board once, and there were actually a lot of tricks. Credit to Praggnanandhaa for finding the tricks, keeping fighting, but it was just this one moment. If white had pushed forward with a pawn, it looks winning, because white's about to check and make a new queen, then black would have actually drawn the game. Praggnanandhaa would have saved it, would have qualified for the knockouts by taking this pawn off, and suddenly this is not possible anymore. The black bishop will just capture, but after king takes bishop, it's stalemate. Black's king cannot move. The white bishop actually covers its escape square, the pawn covers its other escape square, and this would be a draw. But David Anton, of course, he had spotted this trick, and he just removed his bishop from the guard of this square. And as we saw, once the black bishop moved, pawn forward, won the game. After bishop takes pawn, it's no longer stalemate. The black king has to move, and once it does, this is a check, and white makes a new queen. Brutal in the end. Chess is so harsh sometimes, but endgame technique, that is where it decided this game.
But someone who did qualify in style was Vietnamese Grandmaster Liam Le. In a critical encounter with Magnus Carlsen, Liam crucially saved a lost position, allowing him to cruise to the top of the preliminaries.
These two black knights, monsters. If one of them's traded off, the position only opens up, and look at white's king still stranded.
Oh yeah, he hasn't castled yet.
No, he hasn't castled.
I don't think he will. Wow, Liam has just sacrificed materials. It's chaos. White's pawn's pushing forward, black's pawn's pushing forward. Magnus could go for this pawn. No, he attacks the white bishop instead. There's a threat after threat every single move, and black is ahead on material. Okay, it's one pawn versus one pawn.
Whoa, look at the bar.
That's the thing.
And Magnus reacts. Has he blundered the win?
You think he's blundered the win?
Liam escapes. It's king versus king. It's a draw.
At the top of the table with an incredible 32 points was Liam Le. Trailing behind him was Magnus Carlsen with 29 points. Securing a spot in the knockouts with a notable 7th place was 18-year-old Hans Niemann. In the knockouts, the players play one match with 4 games. If the scores are tied, then tie-breaks with even shorter time controls will decide who goes through to the next stage. In the quarterfinals, the talented Niemann would face his biggest challenge yet, taking on the world champion. After a dramatic start to the match, Magnus exerted full control and promptly defeated the 18-year-old in just 3 games.
Look at this. Nasty knight check. Black is about to win this game because after king takes pawn, this would have been a decisive knight fork. Magnus in full control once again. White's rook is just waiting. There's nothing else to do. White's pawns are stuck, can't push. White's king has to stop the black king advancing on either side of the board. So there's this opposition between the kings right now. So White's rook is just going up, down, and he's hoping that Magnus can't find a winning plan. Look at Magnus's face. Has he just blown it? Because
Oh, look at that.
he can't keep his black pawn defended anymore. The black bishop is fixed defending the other pawn, the b pawn. Marathon game, not even move 100, but Magnus took the win.
Okay, we're going to see it.
White has a passed pawn now. Look how the bishops just protect everything. White's bishop is a beast in the center of the board. And there we go. Magnus looking for the forcing moves. As we always talk about, checks, captures, threats. He played a check. Oh, no, sorry, he played a capture. And then now he's playing a threat. And this is just going to win.
Here, it just feels like one bad move and Magnus took all the momentum and it was totally Magnus dominating the game. I don't feel that Hans had a chance at all.
The rook, the bishop, and the white pawns together. I mean, they're more than a match for the black rook and knight. There we go. Magnus takes the win, about to make a new queen.
The first and second games were very, very tense. Up to a certain point, I was definitely in command of both of those, but they got a bit out of hand.
We saw earlier it was a bit of a, the opening just wasn't ideal. He walked into something that Magnus knows really well, but just to show the finishing touches, Magnus in this position completely killed Black's counterplay. There are some hints of an attack against the white king, using the black queen, using the black knight as well against this pawn, and rather than get greedy, which was my first instinct, to capture here, Magnus decided, okay, it's time to trade queens, get rid of all remaining danger, and that won the game for him. He stepped forward with this pawn, forcing the black queen to take it. He stepped forward with this pawn, forcing the black knight to give a check because of this double attack. So after this check, he realized, okay, black's queen has to stay protecting her knight. She has to step across one square. And after this queen trade, we saw white establish these two monstrous, these powerful passed pawns. This pawn and this pawn, as we saw, later won the game for white. Hans, maybe just a little bit of opening work there would have saved him, but either way, just after he got his chance, Magnus with perfect technique.
In the other encounters, David Navarra lost to a confident Liam Lay, whilst Jan-Christoph Duda secured an easy victory over Anton. Playing in the early hours of the morning, Ding Liren overcame the dangerous Van Forest. In the semi-finals, Magnus faced his biggest challenge of the tournament, world number 3, Ding Liren. It was to be Carlsen's best day so far, as Carlsen defeated Ding in a massive battle.
If Ding holds this one, I'll be full of praise for him. Wow.
Okay, and the computer has said
Oh,
this
look
is
at
a
the bar!
blunder.
Yeah, but Magnus, he's retreated his queen. Okay, he stopped any checks. This is so clever. And now I thought the position was about to repeat itself, but white's queen's actually on a better square than she previously was. Can she just go and capture the pawn now in front of the white king?
Yes, she can.
Yeah, white is suddenly winning. I was just praising Ding, but Magnus found a trick. Ding, realizing white has a winning move, just slides the queen across.
He's done it.
Yeah, supporting that white pawn indirectly. Black can no longer hold the fortress. White's c-pawn is about to make another queen.
That's it, a second queen is going to come, and Ding has resigned. Magnus has won.
It was just one move, and he didn't go for the most obvious one. He tried to be a bit too clever. Here, there is a threat, as we mentioned. There's tension on the 7th rank. White wants to make a new queen, pushing forward with that discovered check, and Ding here could have saved the draw. Instead, he moved his king forward, but the draw would have been available with a check. The king moves, another check, the king moves, and another check. This game would have ended in a draw. No way for the white king to escape. Ding missing his chance.
Wow, here comes the breakout. Magnus has released the light square bishop, and Pandora's box has been opened.
Look at all these trades incoming. Everything's going to get eliminated. The queens have just left the board. And yeah, right now, Magnus only needing a draw. He's a big favorite to achieve it. Suddenly, everything's got traded. Wow,
Oh
Ding.
no, blunder from Ding.
blunders.
And oh
And
no.
immediately resigns. World champion Magnus Carlsen reaches another final. Big congratulations, Magnus.
Thank you.
How tough was this match against Ding?
All the games really were very, very tense, but I think I played quite reasonably today. At least I felt that this was my best day.
In the other semi-final, Duda's victory in the first game dashed Liam's hopes for a dream tournament. But this win meant that Duda would play Carlsen in his first ever tour final. For Magnus, it would be a chance to avenge his semi-final loss at the 2021 World Cup. The first day of the final saw an impeccable Magnus outclassing Duda with some exceptionally interesting games.
Duda looks really unhappy meanwhile. Just psychologically, I think he's just struggling to adapt to this kind of transition of Black suddenly getting active.
Yeah, I think he's totally lost control.
Yeah.
Wow, totally lost control as well.
Yeah, because he also lost control over the clock. So I think
40 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he brings his bishop forward.
Oh no!
There we go. I mean, it's just expected because of the clock, because he's lost control on the position, and that's when blunders happen. They don't just occur out of nothing. Magnus grabs another pawn. He's actually 3 pawns up, and have we just seen Duda resign? I think we have. Magnus takes the win. Oh, wow, okay, Magnus really committing. I'm surprised about this one. He does block things up. I said that strategically, that is risky for white. And there we go, the evaluation bar slightly in Black's favor now. Everything is falling suddenly in Black's camp. And look at the Black Queen, meanwhile, offside, not participating.
3 seconds, 2 seconds. He has to make a move.
For the bishop. Okay, he goes active, but this is not going to end well.
It's not going to work. He's trying for some checkmate.
And Magnus doesn't even allow it. Look at that, such control.
Magnus shuts the door on any entry for the Black rook. And now Black really has to get rid of that white bishop. The white bishop's about to take a pawn and win the game. And Duda doesn't even continue. He doesn't try to save it. He resigns.
Heartbreak for Jan-Christoph Duda. He loses the first match in the final.
The last 2 games were exceptionally interesting from a strategic point of view. Unfortunately, neither of us really had enough time to grasp all the subtleties at the critical moments, but nevertheless, it was fascinating.
But Magnus just seemed to be on fire today.
What can we say? Magnus, we saw it in the first game. He was already taking risks, already probing, pushing, putting pressure on, and Duda just couldn't handle it. I mean, this looked like Magnus in top form.
Yeah.
Duda played okay, but just 1 or 2 moves here and there, Magnus was better.
Let's take a look at this final game. Magnus with the white pieces to clinch the win in the first match.
Yeah, and I just want to explain why Black resigned, why Duda resigned in that final position, because it looks like there's still some life left, and it's all about this pawn. This pawn is falling, the white bishop's about to capture it. If this pawn drops, then white's 2 pawns are going to win, and therefore Duda, his only hope, the only thing he could have done other than resign, was to remove the white bishop from the board. But the reason he thought this was hopeless is because after white recaptures, the Black king coming forward, white can now just lock down the position. You can step forward with this pawn, for example, and Black is completely frozen. The king is stuck blockading pawns, the rook is also stuck, glued to this square, and at white's leisure, white will just bring the rook across, then start improving his king, and at the right moment, white will break through. Just too many white pawns, too far advanced white pawns, and Black is helpless in this second game.
After Carlsen's perfect start, Duda had to fight back. Things looked bad after a first-round loss, but on the brink of defeat, a transformed Duda suddenly turned a lost position into a winning one.
Now, boiling point, he has to move Duda.
3 seconds.
1 second.
He has to make a move.
Wow.
Okay, he pushes a pawn. That was pure panic.
And there's a big threat on the board.
Oh!
It's gonna be checkmate.
Magnus shaking his head. Black's queen wants to go on the diagonal in front of the white king. That's checkmate in 1 move. Duda's turned it around. Oh wow, actually Magnus doesn't even try to save this game. He resigns in a hopeless endgame.
It went from bad to worse for the world champion when he was demolished in just 26 moves.
This is the key moment of the whole final. This 1 move if Duda finds a knight sacrifice. Those knight moves.
Found it.
He's winning now, Duda. Oh wow.
Takes the knight.
He's got a really cunning idea in mind, actually. I ruled this one out automatically. I thought the Black Queen could go back and recapture this bishop, but White would win instantly. Magnus just resigns. Game over.
This meant that the match scores were tied and the finals would be decided by the season's very first tie-break. The players would play 2 games with 5 minutes plus 3 seconds per move. If the match was still tied, then an Armageddon game would decide the winner. The first tiebreak game was about to fizzle out into a draw until Duda stumbled into a crafty trick.
Wow. Okay, Magnus has attacked the black rook. Is Magnus winning material?
Oh, look at that. The bar goes up.
Magnus tricked Duda there. He's attacking the black rook. The black rook is about to fall. The black bishop under a threat as well. White is winning a piece here. Magnus takes the win. Duda blundered horribly.
Needing to win, Duda played aggressively, but he simply could not handle Carlsen's counterattack.
Oh, look at the bar.
The computer hates this. That means the sacrifice simply doesn't work. He's just winning, Jovanka.
The king can't move.
The white king, if it moves, will lose its bishop. And if white's queen takes this black rook, then black's queen takes the white rook. White's queen is overworked, and Duda, he resigns.
Look at that smile on the champion's face. Magnus Carlsen wins the Charity Cup.
Huge relief now. This was right out of the playbook of what feels like every tournament last year, after the first few ones, where it just seems like I'm cruising, and then there's one bad moment and it all falls apart. But yeah, managed to survive.
So with this tournament victory, world champion Magnus Carlsen races to the top of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour standings with $63,500. Jan-Christoph Duda is in second place with $25,000. And in third place with $22,250 is Jan Nepomniachtchi. This all sets the scene for this season's first major tournament with some exciting chess to follow. So stay tuned. Thanks to our sponsors and viewers from all over the world, we were able to raise almost $160,000 for UNICEF to help the children of Ukraine. So thank you.